Hi, I'm Shelby Gilroy, and I'm going to talk about mixed methods research. The first thing I'd like to go over is what mixed methods research is. A mixed method research design is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both quantitative and qualitative research methods in a single study or a series of studies to understand a research problem. And this little picture here gives you an idea of what the quantitative research method is and the qualitative research method is, and what mixed research methods are. And this picture shows it's defined as both predetermined and emerging methods, both opened and closed-ended questions, and its multiple forms of data drawing on all possibilities in statistical and text analysis. It's taking everything from quantitative and qualitative data and combining them together. Okay, so moving right along. When should mixed methods research be conducted? Well, John Creswell says a mixed method research study is conducted when you have both qualitative and quantitative data on page 535 of this book. John Creswell says to do a mixed methods research study when you believe that one type of data isn't enough to solve a research problem. So he's saying when you have qualitative and quantitative data, but you don't think one of those is enough, you use both of them to try to figure out your research problem. Okay, so this brings us up to what are the types of mixed methods research. And Creswell lists different types. He has convergent parallel design, explanatory sequential design, exploratory sequential design, embedded design, transformative design, multi-phase design on page 540 of his book. So we'll go down. And this picture gives you an idea of what he was talking about. The exploratory design, it's an instrument development, it's taxonomy development. Those are the variants in it. The timing is it's sequential, qualitative, followed by quantitative. It's usually qualitative when it's weighed, and it connects data between two phases. This is the explanatory. Usually it's consisted of follow-up explanations, and it has participants selection. And the timing is it's sequential. It's quantitative followed by qualitative. And when it's weighed, it's usually quantitative. And it, like the one listed after it, it connects the data between two phases, and that's the equation. And this is the embedded design. It's embedded, it's experimental, it has a correlation variation in it. The timing is it's concurrent or it's sequential. It's usually unequal when it's weighed. And the mixing, it's usually embeds one type of data within a larger design using the other type of data. And this is the equation. And we're going to skip triangulation because Creswell doesn't really go into that in his book. Okay, so going down here, Creswell had steps as to how you would conduct mixed methods research study. The first step was you have to determine if a mixed methods research study is feasible or possible. Step 2, you have to identify a rationale for doing it. Step 3, you identify a data collection study. Step 4 is to develop quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods questions. Step 5 is to collect quantitative and qualitative data. Step 6 is to analyze data separately, concurrently, or both. Step 7 is to write the report as a 1 or 2 phase study or a multiple phase study. So, how to evaluate a mixed method study. Creswell gives some evaluation tips. He says the researcher should be able to explain why mixed methods was the best approach to answer a research problem. You have to explain what the limitations would have been of using other methods. The researcher should incorporate both qualitative and quantitative data collection and analysis. It should be put in a way that the reader can clearly see what you're doing. The researcher should frame the study within one of the mixed methods research design types. Creswell wants the researcher to use one of the mixed method research design types he was talking about because he believes they provide the most clarity. Also, the researcher provides a diagram of the procedures to clarify the timing, priority, and mixing within the study. The reader needs to see visual aids of what the researcher is doing. The researcher signals to the reader that the study is using mixed methods research within the title, purpose statement, and method section. Creswell is saying the researcher cannot plunge into what they are doing before explaining it first. Okay, so let's go down here. So we have a diagram here of how mixed methods research works. Phase 1 is there's a huge collection of quantitative data, and then it's analyzed. And then you have part of the finished product. Phase 2 is you have then the qualitative data is collected. And this is a focus group discussion or individual interviews. It's text data. And then it gets analyzed and through content analysts. And then you have the other part of the finished product. And so your product would look like this. It has interpretation and explanation of quantitative and qualitative results. There's a literature review, an expert panel, and nominal group techniques. There's also a discussion offering, health promotion strategies. I think that's just within the example used that where this picture came from, and implications and future research. Okay, so Creswell got into the history a little bit, and I wasn't going to go over all of it, but I was going to give a brief overview. The first two researchers that helped get mixed methods research going were Campbell and Frisky, and they introduced the multi-method approach aimed at employing multiple methods in a single study in 1959. According to page 536 of Creswell's book. These two did not set out to start using mixed methods research. They did this with a different purpose in mind, but their early work helped contribute to what mixed methods research is today. And then we had a time skip, and Sieber here suggested the combination of in-depth studies with surveys, creating a new style of research, and that further contributed to mixed methods research. And then finally, during the 1980s and 1990s, Creswell says there was a huge debate, which was also known as the worldview method argument, on how mixed methods research should be conducted. Everybody had their own idea. And you can read about that further in his book on page 537. Okay, and these are my sources I use. This concludes my presentation, and I hope this gives you a little bit more of an idea of what mixed methods research is.